Hello, welcome to Clearing the Haze. I'm your host, Chuck Marting, and today we have a very special guest, a friend of mine. We've been friends for a number of years now. I was thinking about that earlier, and from the best calculations that I can come up with, about 12 years. I might be wrong. So, Linda
Might
may
even be a little longer than that.
yeah, it might be. But I have the pleasure of having Linda Richardson in the podcast today. And there's a number of reasons why I wanted to have Linda on here. We've talked about this for quite a while to have her on the show because she brings a very good perspective, having done a lot of the things that we all do as collectors. She's been there. She's been the DER. She's been past president of SAPA. She's been a presenter and still is a presenter at SAPA in a lot of other industry conferences that we all go to. And so she does have that unique perspective. But the thing that I really enjoy in talking to Linda is because she is so well known by a lot of different people in this industry, she hears what's going on and she's able to address a lot of things and also correct a lot of things from people that are doing things wrong but thought they were doing it right. One of the reasons why I had Linda on today is to kind of key off on the same discussion I had with Joe Riley earlier. And then that is that we're seeing a lot of individuals that are getting a false perspective of what this industry is. People are telling them, hey, let me get you certified and you can be a millionaire in, 6 months. Or they give them that false identity of thinking, well, you're buying into something and these labs are just going to give you clients and you're not going to know what to do with yourself. And that is wrong. Like I shared in the last episode, when I first got into this industry, I was taken for about 12 grand because I didn't know any better. And so I had to get it figured out. And it's because of people like Linda and like we've had on the past show with Joe Riley and people like that, that I was able to get back on track and figure out what it was that I needed to do to be successful in this industry. So, with that being said, Linda, thank you for being here. And if you could give us a little bit of a background on you and what you've done in the industry, how you got into the industry, so people can get to know you a little bit. And then I'm anticipating we're going to have a great conversation.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate you having me, Chuck. I'm really been looking forward to this. I have a company called Advanced Compliance Group, and what Advanced Compliance Group does is a lot of training, a lot of DER training, a lot of beginner type training for those new to the industry. As you know, we have a lot of new people coming into the industry, which is absolutely fabulous. But we want to make sure that they're trained correctly when they get in and maybe take them through that stair-step process of learning. And I also do a lot of reasonable suspicion training and collection site inspections, making sure that collectors are doing things correctly. In the past, I've been a DER, as you've mentioned, for a couple of different energy companies. I've also built national collection site networks. And I've also done a lot of training around the country, a lot of speaking around the country. So I'm very pleased that you invited me, and thank you so much for that really generous introduction. I got started in this industry back in 1989. So I guess you could say I'm one of the dinosaurs. Donna Smith and I used to joke around about this all the time because I think she was back then, she was the director at Odapsey. So we kind of know where all the bodies are buried. Um, I, I started at a company called Life Data Medical Services, and I got into it quite by accident. I had been in the insurance industry for about 7 years, doing payroll deduction life insurance, and got tired of that. And when I moved back to the Kansas City area, which is where I'm from, yay, go Chiefs! Got to get that plug in.
I was going to say,
And
you just had to plug that, didn't you?
absolutely, any chance I get, baby, any chance I get, we're going for the three-peat.
That's
But
right.
anyway, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is.
but so the bottom line is I fell into it because I went to work for a company called Life Data Medical Services as a customer service person.
Hmm.
So I cut my teeth on some very large accounts that were very complex, such as a lot of railroads and airlines, and learned very quickly that I didn't know very much. So, and I still learn, and I tell people every day, I've been doing this 37 years. I learn something new every day, which is great.
Yeah.
I retired in 2018, at the beginning of 2018, and that was how many years ago, and I'm still here. So it's because I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. And I do. I want people to do it right. And I know that there are a lot of new people coming into the industry, and it's important that they do it. It's important that we train them up right and that we give them the knowledge that they need to keep building on that. And so that then they can continue to mentor people coming in new when they get up to a certain level. So I really enjoy
Exactly.
what I do. And what you're talking about and what you spoke about with Joe Riley about these people getting into the industry and making it like it's a big money maker. And I did a little homework before this podcast because it's been a while since I've been on TikTok to review some of these videos. And I'm appalled every time I do this. I don't know where this started. I don't know how this started. Maybe it had something to do with COVID and having to do everything online. All the training had to go online because nothing could be done in person. And I
Mhm.
think it became too convenient and people got sloppy. And I think there's nothing that takes the place of live training because you get a chance to physically interact with people and I think you learn better that way. I think you learn more effectively that way. So I'm not a big proponent of online training. I'll do it when I have to do it, when there's no other alternative. But I think live training is the way to go because that's how people learn. But I think that also allowed shortcuts. So that's my spiel on that. So
You said something interesting that I think that we need to probably talk about because social media, like you said, there are some people that have put a betrayal of this industry out there that to me has become predatory. They're causing people to have a false sense of what this industry is, or that it is a get rich quick type of thing that you're going to realize. I think the one thing that people are lacking when they're coming into this industry, and you said it, is that one, they think they're going to make all this money. But if you don't have passion for what it is that you're doing, you're never going to make the money.
oh, you're gonna fizzle. You're just gonna fizzle out. It's I wrote down some of these things because I didn't want to forget what they said. But I had one person on there on a TikTok video say that all positive DOT tests must be reported into the clearinghouse, which we all know is not true. That's only true for my phone's ringing, sorry.
You're okay.
That's only true. It's Mary, I'll call her. Oh, you can edit that out, right? Anyway, um, it was all DOT positive tests. And I'm like, we all know that that only applies to FMCSA. But
hmm
this person made it sound like every positive DOT test had to be reported into that clearinghouse. So I'm sure that people watching that video got the wrong idea. And none of these videos are, more than 20, 30 seconds long. Another one said that when you do your mocks and you get into the shy bladder proficiency test, that you have to go to a direct observation. And I just kind of went, what? So that's incorrect, obviously. I had another one that said that when you have a positive, you have to join a SAP program, kind of like an AA program. And it's just like if you get a DUI, it goes on your driving record.
Yeah.
And this was somebody who is only doing trucking. That was their sole client base was trucking. Another one said, this one I really liked. She had a whole lot of stuff. You only need a 4-hour training course. And it could be from something like YouTube University.
Hmm.
And that training was compared to the Wild Wild West because there's no standardized training curriculum, which is true, there isn't, and no certification, and there's no governing board. And the DOT doesn't require you to have anything to be a trainer. And your final exam is the proficiency testing. And then, by the way, Quest Diagnostics can give you a certification for free online. So
Mm-hmm.
go to Quest Diagnostics. Now, did you get that? Quest Diagnostics. And she must have repeated it 3 times. And then she said, if you have another door in your home, you could use your home to do collections. Just have them come to your house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, though that she wasn't done. There's more just from this one person. Check out the local big labs. They're the ones they will provide you with an MRO, which we all know can't happen because they can't have a financial interest. They will provide you with the CCFs and the kits and everything that you need. And there is a company that you can buy forms from if you need them. And then another one said you could do 50 drug tests a week for 6 months and make $60,000 as she's standing in front of her Mercedes um, SUV. And then, oh gosh, another one said all post accident DOT testing requires a post accident test. All DOT
Mm-hmm.
accidents require a post accident test. So about, I think it was in March, I started a little group called the Collection Site / Collector Alliance, not to be confused with the Council of Collection Sites or the Drug Testing Collector Alliance. This is completely separate. It's not really an organization, it's a group of people that we got together and we decided that because of all these videos out there and the TikTok videos and all the misinformation, and I hesitate to call it misinformation, Chuck. It's not even really misinformation. It's just freaking wrong information,
Yeah.
period. No other way
Yeah.
to describe it. Um, and so we got together and we decided we needed to do some sort of a training standardized curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
which probably is true. However, as the group progressed, we decided that that probably wasn't the best way to go. Maybe the better way to go was to develop some kind of a guideline for training. So we came up with, which will be finalized at our next meeting next month, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It will be free to anybody that wants it. They'll email whoever wants to give me their email and they can send them a copy of it for free. It's called a collector guidance outline for training. There was a lot of input from the entire group, and it covers all kinds of things. It covers what you need to talk about the history of the regulations. You don't know where you're going unless you understand where you came from. So the history of it is very important. So your training curriculum should include history. It should include what the DOT's role is. It should include about the regulations, both Part 40 and the individual modal regulations. It should include how to do a DOT collection, how to do a non-DOT collection. The difference is how to do a DHHS collection because they're a little bit different, especially when you
Yeah.
get into direct observation, and how to do an oral fluid once the devices are approved and everything's a go on that. So we thought it was more important to maybe outline what you should have rather than tell you what context and what
Mm-hmm.
text to actually say. Everybody has their own training style, they have their own methodology that they use, but you should have the same topics addressed in your training. And then the other thing is are we training people as collectors that really shouldn't be collectors? So we need to do a better job of vetting them up front and maybe put them through a regular job interview process where if this person doesn't, you don't think that they're capable of doing it the way it's supposed to be done, then they're not a good candidate for the job. Or if you get halfway through training and you see that they're just not getting it, it's just not clicking for them, or maybe they don't seem to have the drive or the ambition to want to learn and do it correctly. Maybe it's time to take a look and say, is this the right person to be a collector? So I think if we do a better job of vetting the people up front, and then we all use the same topics, you do it, you say it any way you want, but
Yep.
here are the things that you should cover in any training that you perform. Okay.
Exactly.
So this document, where I'm just pleased as punch. We worked really, really hard on it. A lot of people dedicated a lot of time and a lot of effort to it. And I wanted the group to mean something. I wanted the group to produce something. I didn't want it to be just a group of people who get around and bitch and talk about all the problems we're having with no solutions on how to fix them. Okay.
Yeah.
So we were very solution focused, and it will be available next, well, maybe not next week, but it's in its final form. And as if the group approves it, which I think they already will, because I kind of already have a pre-approval on it, but we'll get it in a format that I can email out to people, or whoever in the group wants to put their email out there, they can also send it. So
Awesome.
it's I'm excited about that, because we produced something that I think will be very, very helpful. And it was all a result of all these little TikTokers out there spreading wrong information.
You know, what
So
I'll do is I will include a link for people to be able to get a hold of you so they can get more information to be able to do that because I think it
yeah,
is
just link them to my
very
email, and all
valuable.
I'll do is just I'll pop it right back out to them on their email. They just need to give me their email address, and that way, at least I kind of want to know who it's going to
Sure.
know if any of these people are smart enough to take advantage of something that's going to help them. That's free.
Yeah.
So then, when I hear about people, I know there are some TPAs out there who are trying to be the back end office, so to speak, for
Hmm.
people like this, to maybe hook them up with a lab and an MRO and package a deal for them and all that. And I get that. My concern is that if these people can't even do a collection correctly, do you really want to put them in the TPA business?
Yeah.
Because now they're going to be out there selling to employers TPA services with no clue what compliance is or means. And I'm afraid that it's going to get some people in trouble by, they're going to be out of compliance.
Well, and it's a concerning thing that you bring up that whole topic because one, they're not going to be in business for very long because they have no clue what a TPA is.
They're going to
But
have to work, Chuck. They're going to
yeah,
have to. It's
and
not fast.
that's what I was going to say, Linda, is that we have some people right now that I know of that I've talked to that are in that situation of being a TPA. They've never done a drug test. They don't know what a shy bladder is. They've never had to do an observed collection or know when to do an observed collection. So I had to help a couple of them as far as helping them to understand a couple of those things so that they didn't get themselves in trouble because they're giving false information out. And so, look, I understand a lot of this stuff. It's going to, like you were saying earlier, it's going to vet other people out. But if you have a true intent that you're wanting to have, like what you were talking about earlier, having the passion to be able to do this business, then we want them to be able to do it correctly. And
Absolutely.
social media has been a double-edged sword for us. It's been very good for some of the legitimate individuals that are trying to make a difference because it's not about them, it's about the clients and the clientele that they have and serving them that they have had the most motivating things to happen to them. But then you have the other people, if they're just chasing the money, they're not going to be here for very long and they're going to be disappointed. But those same people end up attacking our industry saying, I was lied to, they told me all this. Well, you didn't do your homework because if you're going to somebody that it's training you and how they do this, I have no idea. But somebody that just went through the collector training themselves 3 months ago, and now all of a sudden they're a trainer and they're going to teach you to be doing the same thing, you're going to have some problems. And
Well,
that's
in
one
one
of the main
respect, that
concerning
girl was
things.
right about the wild, wild west when it comes to
Hmm.
training.
Yeah.
That is true, because there are so many different people and different ways of thinking out there, that the ones who are not in it for the fast money, they will stick around. Like you said, they're the ones who will be willing to learn, willing to do it correctly, willing to take in the knowledge, maybe expand their business when the time is right. But if these people are just in it for the quick buck, they're not going to last long at anything they do.
Yeah. So,
So
and
we
look,
tried to find a way to combat what they're doing. Okay.
yeah,
And sometimes,
exactly.
sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that that's always the answer, but it is certainly in some cases. But the key or the trick is, how do you stop the bad ones out there?
Hmm.
I think you just have to hope they fizzle out and go away. Um, but maybe there's a way that people who watch these can reach out to them and say, I'd love to help you grow this business if this is really what you want to do. But I think it's going to take somebody reaching out to them to find out how serious they are about it.
And I think that's the main focus of why we're doing this podcast is I'm trying to reach out to those people who similarly, like myself, was taken for, you know, the cost of a used car that I could have put towards other things, but I didn't know any better. Now, that's on me because I thought I did my homework and obviously I didn't. So I learned an expensive lesson. And so my thing in doing this podcast for people, in having guests on like yourself that have the knowledge and understanding of what it takes to be successful in this business, this is what they need to hear. They need to understand that they do have a place that they can go. And just like myself, you can recover from the ripoff that you had and actually get put on the right track so that you can do it. Now, did it take me, did it happen in 3 or 4 months for Stacy and I? Heck no. We have a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this. But I can tell you that after 14 years, we got two different locations. We've got a pretty good consortium list. We've got other and this was something, and I think even you would agree with this. There's more to this than just collection of specimens.
Right.
You have drug-free workplace policies. You have other things that you can encompass into your business to make it successful. And so these individuals that are getting taken have only got a small piece of the pie, and they're getting frustrated. And these were probably people that would be very good to have in the industry. But then there's others that are just looking for that quick hit and they're going to get out anyway. And so they lick their wounds and they move on. So, those people you're not going to be able to help.
It's going to
But
be important to identify those that
are doing that.
no, I think those are the people who will flame out. You don't have to worry about them. They'll go away on their own. They'll just flame out because they'll get disenchanted with the whole thing. They'll see very quickly they're not going to become a millionaire, in 6 months, or they're not going to become a millionaire in a year. It's just not going to happen. That's not the nature of the business. And if you don't have the drive and the passion to keep going and dedicate the hard work and the effort that it takes to build your business, if that's the direction you want to go, then those are the kind of people you want to keep that are willing to do that. So you don't mind investing in them. You don't mind
Mhm.
investing your time and your effort in them because,
Exactly.
that's the future of our industry and things are changing so fast. I'm telling you, things are changing so fast in this industry. I never thought I would see the day where the people who are supposed to be battling drugs in this country would consider rescheduling a drug
Hmm.
that impacts so many people's lives. It just baffles my mind.
It's funny that you say that because one of the classes that I'm teaching right now to a lot of people is how to deal and recognize the use of psychedelics in the workplace.
Mhm.
Because here in Colorado, we love our drugs. And we're one of the first ones to legalize that for therapeutic use and stuff, but that's also how marijuana started. So they're taking that playbook that they've had and they're following it with the support of the marijuana industry because they're going to benefit from this as well.
Money, money.
And so I have seen a lot of that, and that's what concerns me. And it goes back to what we're saying is that people need to understand this industry and know what you're walking into. It's not just about, here's a cup, I need about this much, and we'll take care of you. It goes beyond that, guys. There's a lot more entailed with this business and this industry with integrity that is going to help you become successful. And if,
Build your business in this industry with your integrity and your credibility. And
yep,
if you're out there doing things that make you uncredible or shows you have no integrity, you will not last long
yeah.
in the industry. It just won't happen.
So from the perspective of a DER,
Mhm.
I need you to kind of put your DER hat on for a second.
Ever took it on?
Yeah, we've had individuals that have taught on social media that, hey, you can charge this much and you can take other people's clients. We have people that are going to find people to do testing for, and their sales pitch is coming in to the DER and saying, hey, yeah, you're doing your test for this amount, but I can do it for this amount for you. Is it just the somebody coming into you as a DER saying, I can do it cheaper, that's going to motivate you to looking at
No,
that as being a collector? Can you kind of
no,
talk about that real quick? Because I think
unequivocally
that's a
no.
lot of the false perspective that's out
I
there.
I guess I had a little bit of an advantage as a DER because I came from the industry. And I'll tell you what I tell everybody that I train as a DER. When I thought I knew, I mean, I worked for TPAs, I built national collection sites, I worked in the industry, I did everything but work at a lab. And when I became a DER, I learned very quickly that I didn't know half of what I thought I knew. Because as a DER, you face situations that you don't face as a TPA, you don't face as a collector. These
Yeah.
are a whole new set of issues. Okay. You're the one making the decisions for what do I do in this scenario? What do I do in this scenario? Well, I had a manager do this. I had a manager do that. They weren't the same. They didn't interpret the policy the same. So I learned very quickly as a DER, training your managers how to interpret that policy and how to enforce that policy is extremely important. Because if they don't understand it and one does it this way and one does it that way, you got a lawsuit waiting to happen. So as a DER, you just face a whole different set of circumstances than you do as a collector or an MRO. If you're not, as a DER, talking with your MRO, then you're not, you don't know what they're doing. You need to pick up the phone. And if you have an MRO that's not willing to speak to you, then I'd find a new MRO.
Hmm.
Now, sometimes TPAs will say, well, because I'm billing that service for you and I'm packaging those services for you, you take it to me and I'll take it to the MRO.
Hmm.
But you, as the DER, have every right to talk to your MRO.
Yeah.
And he's the one who's making decisions on behalf of the regulations and your company if it's a non DOT. So he needs to understand what your policies are. And maybe the TPA doesn't really know that. Maybe they got so many clients they can't keep up with all the policies. So it's important for that DER to communicate with their service providers, whoever that might be. Okay. But I had a little bit of an advantage coming in as a DER. So when I approached my boss about making a change for a vendor change, it was I knew what the kind of the going rate was for different things, but I didn't want to pick the cheapest because the cheapest isn't always the best. I didn't, I mean, I don't think the most expensive is always the best either. I think it was dependent mainly on the company, how they presented themselves, how they presented their product, and it was more about what can that vendor do for me, the client? How can they make my life easier as the DER?
Hmm.
I can't subjugate all of my duties to them,
Sure.
obviously, but they can take on a great deal of them.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't about price at all. It was about service. And are you going to be there when it's 2 a.m. and I pick up the phone and I need to talk to somebody? And so, that was what drove us to make a change to a different vendor.
Linda, the other thing that I think people need to understand, and you were probably one of the better DERs that I've ever had to deal with. I was one of your vendors for one of the companies, and that's how we got to know each other. There's one thing that you did that impressed me, and that was you were a DER that got involved as far as going out and you went to these facilities to go and look at them to make sure that they were set up the correct way. And the reason why I bring that up is that one of the people on social media was hanging out at a truck stop and
Mhm.
just going, and I talked about this in the last episode, going and grabbing people out of a truck, going, hey, you need to get your random test done. Well, let's go in here to so and so store here and we'll go ahead and get you taken care of. No chain of custody, none of this. Just going in and saying, and then coming out with that guy walking out going, oh man, you really saved me time and money and all this other stuff. And then the person goes, and now I send it to the lab and I'm gonna make my money. That made me want to jump through the screen at this person because in my whole 14 years and talking with you and talking, I have never hung out at a truck stop looking for clients or
No,
approached somebody like that.
no.
What?
The other side of that is if first of all, I'm not sure who got the result for that drug test because who knows where it went and who the account was assigned to. So did the employer ever really get the result? But not only did I do that and look at the sites, but we did a lot of on-site. As you know, we had people come to our locations. And I was doing a location. I was at a location in East Texas, and the collector came in and was going to do a DOT collection. And I said, where are you going to do this collection at? Well, we're going to use this restroom right over here. So I go look at the restroom, and it's just, first of all, it's filthy dirty because, we're in an oil field. So these guys are not the cleanest guys out there. Just saying. But it had everything you're not supposed to have in it. And she hadn't taken anything. I said, do you remove all this stuff when you come in here and do a test? Oh, no, I just leave it there. She had a guy leave his wallet on a desk out in the open, just laying there. I mean, how did she know I was an honest person?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I said, no, you can't do that. So I called the manager in and I said, no, no. So we found a trailer across the street where the office folks were, and they had a restroom there that they could secure very easily. So anyway, you have to go out and look, and you just have to. And another thing that I did was I had quarterly, at least quarterly, sometimes monthly calls with the
Hmm.
collector to
Yep.
talk about issues that we were seeing, and have any questions they had for us as a company. How can we help you do your job better? And we did that on a regular basis. So we knew our collectors on a first name basis.
Yep. Well, and it was interesting being on those calls because I was able to hear what other collection sites were doing. And I
Mm-hmm.
would look at Stacy and go, what are they talking about? What are they doing? Because I can only imagine you being on the other end, being the DER, just cringing, having known how to do collections, certified to do collections, go and do that. And they tell you some of this stuff. If I'm sitting there cringing, I know you're going, oh my God. But the thing was, is like we're talking about earlier, Linda, you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
Until you have somebody as such as yourself that can say, no, no, you can't do that. And this is why you don't know it because somebody else taught you that. You know, I am grateful that, yeah, I took a big loss, but Joe Riley probably saved me from getting sued because I thought I was doing things the right way until he came in and showed us some stuff. And both Stacy and I are like going, holy crap, I had no idea. So it
Mm-hmm.
goes back to that whole thing of not knowing what you don't know.
Right. That's right.
So that's why I like having your perspective as a DER on that because, like you said, on these social media accounts, they're painting a picture just isn't realistic. That DER is going to be pretty upset with somebody at a truck stop going, "What the heck are you doing? How do
Well,
I
I'm
know who this
not, like I
person
said, I'd like
is?"
to know how they got the right result to the right place. I mean, how do you do that if you have no form?
Yeah, exactly,
So, I
exactly.
mean, they don't understand that these forms are not only important because that's the form you have to use, but these forms have an account number on there that ties that information to a specific company. And
Hmm.
that's how the results get reported based on how that was all set up. And if you don't have anything like that set up, you can't just take a cup and a blank form in there and do a test unless you're getting the result.
Well, then there's the whole thing of record retention. What are you doing with that? Where's it going? How are you
If you're
transporting
receiving
stuff?
results on behalf of that person, then you are a TPA and you're already acting in that capacity. And I hope you got TPA insurance.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot to that.
But there's a lot of DERs that are new. I mean, it kind of depends on the company. It depends on what their expectations are. The DER should be involved in policy development.
Yep.
They should be involved with the upper management because if you don't have the upper management buy-in for the policy, then you're not going to be allowed to enforce it.
Exactly.
And so your upper management has to understand how important drug testing is, and that, you don't have a choice. These are regulations and you have to do, we're talking strictly DOT, but um, even on the non-DOT side, they have to be, we did a lot of different types of testing as a DER. And so it wasn't just about urine, it wasn't just about DOT. I mean, I think I don't know, 2,200 CDL DOT drivers. And then I had, I don't know, 7 or 8,000 regular employees who were subject to company testing, which also included hair testing. And so, I mean, that adds a whole new level. I mean, I got to tell you this story because well, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. Um, when they implemented hair testing, uh, the question came up, what do you do with somebody who has no hair? Because a lot of guys in the oil field, they shave their head. We all know that.
Mhm.
And some of those guys were also bodybuilding. And so they had to, maintain sleek bodies and all that. But so there was no chest hair, there was no underarm hair. And a lot of collectors don't understand that if you collect it somewhere other than the head or from the neck up, then that's completely different than head or your beard hair, completely different.
Mhm. Yep.
So if you're collecting from the underarm or the forearm, that hair grows at a slower rate because as it grows out, it falls out. As it grows out, it falls out. So, but it's a much slower rate than your hair.
Hmm.
So your drugs are going to stay in longer in that hair than they do in head hair. And a lot of people would combine those specimens. You can't combine them. You can't combine them
Yeah.
because it's two different spots that you collected. But we decided that in certain cases we were going to collect pubic hair.
Mm.
I had to literally sit in front of the CEO and get permission to test pubic hair.
Wow.
And I remember him sitting there in front of me going, yeah, go ahead. And I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. So we did it. But I would never, ever, ever, ever let a collector anywhere near somebody with scissors in that particular area of the body.
You
They would
think?
hand no, they would hand the scissors to the individual and they would cut their own hair.
Yeah.
And
No
they would hold
question.
out the little foil and say, put it in here.
Yeah. That would be a rough one to have to
That
do.
was that was an interesting time.
That might change some ideas and some minds having to go and do something like that though. So
Well, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. The other thing about that is that, drugs stay in pubic hair about 3 years.
oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
then you get into ADA issues and that you don't want to go there.
yeah,
So
I really don't.
there are times when hair testing might be appropriate. There are times when oral fluid might be appropriate, and there are times when urine is appropriate. So
Oh
you
yeah.
have to, as the employer, you have to decide that. And, now would be a fun time to be a DER because with oral fluid coming down the pike, you have some choices,
Yeah.
um, which I didn't have. So,
Yeah.
but
So
no,
we
I'm not going back to work full time.
yeah, I think you've had enough of that. Um
I still enjoy it. When I don't enjoy it, I'll quit. My husband says, I thought you were retired. Well, I was, but in 2 weeks I got bored. So here we are.
so I need to ask you a question.
Sure.
With your understanding and expertise in this, when you have somebody who is wanting to get into this business, what would be your best advice for them so that they aren't taken advantage of, that they know that they're getting the training that they need and the ability to be successful and how they would do that?
Find somebody that you trust who's been doing this a while that can mentor you. You shouldn't have to pay for somebody to mentor you. There are lots of people who will freely give advice to people. Um, I don't charge people who call and ask me questions. I had one call me today and ask me a question. And it's like, I'm not charging for that. Why would I do that? If that
Mm,
helps the person learn what they need to learn, then I'm going to tell them what they need to know. So they need to find somebody that they trust. Most of what everybody teaches or wants to sell you, you can find online for free.
yeah.
You know, I tell people when I train the FTA people, They got the best deal of all the modes because they have everything you could possibly want on their website.
Yeah.
They have how to build your policy. They have all kinds of stuff on their website, how to audit your collection site. You name it, they got it. And they're probably the most uh, comprehensive of any of the modes out there as far as information that you can just download off their website.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a call that just says, where can I find this or where can I find that? I mean, it can be a real simple thing, but the thing is, you got to find somebody that you trust, somebody that's been around a while that isn't going to just take your money for the sake of taking your money.
Very true. I think there's also organizations such as SAPA and Indesa that are industry organizations that you can go to get some direction, to be able to ask questions like you're saying, and to be able to be on the right road. In my opinion, that's what I've told people that have called me. Don't get your business plan and working ethic and everything else from a TikTok video or social media. Go
First
to
thing I would
somewhere.
ask is, what do you want to do? What
Yeah,
is it you
what do you
want to
do?
do?
Yeah,
If you don't know what they want to do, you don't know how to guide them.
yeah,
And if they don't know what they want to do, then you have to kind of probe and find out what is it that you're interested in? What attracted you to the desire to even want to do this? What made you
yeah,
say, by gosh, I want to do this. I want to be a collector, or I want to do this, or I want to, what drew you there?
yeah,
Something had to click in their brain that said, I think I might want to do that. So you need to find out what it is they want to do before you can even tell them what direction to go.
yeah. And I think that's very good advice. It really is, and it's solid because we've seen people in this industry that are very successful because of them following the directions that you just gave. They
Well,
have
and
the
I tell you, it helps
desire
to
to do it the right
collaborate with
way.
people.
Yeah,
It
it
really
does.
helps to collaborate with people and bounce ideas off of them.
Yeah,
But you want to bounce ideas off of successful people. You want
yeah,
to bounce ideas off of people who know what they're talking about, who are credible in the industry, not only credible but have integrity. Because we
hmm,
know there are lots of people out there that don't.
yeah.
And
Big
that's
lie.
scary when you get hooked up with one of those people, boy, it can be bad news for everybody all the way around. So you want to hook up with people who are well respected in the industry, who know their stuff, who are not going to lead you astray, and who are not just out there to make a quick dollar off of you.
Well, and it's pretty easy today for us to get on, the internet and to be able to do that investigation for free, and you can find out, what people are saying about that individual, what they're doing, what they're saying, and if you have somebody that's, where they're saying industry leader or things like that, there's your clue as to where you need to probably start digging. So I
Yeah.
agree with you.
I had people call me and ask me, have you ever heard of so and so? Or have you ever heard of such and such? I'm like, nope, never heard of them. I've been doing this 37 years, never heard of them. So
Yeah,
they're either new to the industry or they're somewhere other than the realm I operate in. And, I can't help people with that.
exactly. Exactly. Well, Linda, it has been a great opportunity to have you here, just to
Well, I
hear
hope
your
I didn't talk too
perspective on this.
much because, like I
Oh
said,
no,
once I start talking, it's hard to shut me up. But like
you
Mary
you
says, I don't have a filter.
well, you've got a wealth of knowledge and understanding, and so that's one thing that I am doing that we talked about earlier is I will be putting your information in the show notes for people to be able to reach out and talk to you further on some things.
Well, and
Because
look for the guidance to come out. With my goal is to get it out there before the SAPA conference, and I'm going to make that mark for sure.
yeah,
But I just want to give it the last once over, and I want everybody else to give it the one more time. Look at it. It's better to have when I teach in reasonable suspicion training. It's four eyes are better than two, and two heads are better than one. So I
yeah,
want everybody to look at it and make sure that all their feedback is there. So many people work so hard on it, Chuck. I'm just so proud of this whole group. So I'll be making an announcement about it on LinkedIn as well.
awesome.
Um, and I'll definitely put my email on there if they want. But then there's other people that I want to make sure I put their email if they want me to do that. So, but I wouldn't put it out there unless I asked them first.
Yeah. Yeah, that's most definite.
But it will be out in the next couple of weeks. So I'm just so glad we actually came up with a document that's going to be helpful to people. So it'd be
Exactly.
when somebody like that from that got something off these TikTok videos calls you up and you can say, you know what? I got a good document that you can start with,
There you go.
you know?
Exactly. And that's what we're looking for is that kind of information. So there are a couple things that I want to do before we close. Okay. The first is that I need to take a moment to acknowledge you and thank you for what you have done in this industry. A lot of this is just out of the goodness of your heart and wanting to see people succeed and also have success and be able to protect those people that have businesses and things like that. There's a lot of times that people um, talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk, and that's not been the case that I have seen with Linda Richardson.
Oh,
I
that really warms my heart, Chuck, because I love what I do. I just love what I do.
Well, and it's evident,
I'm
and that's why.
70, I'm still doing it.
Well, and that's why I needed to take this time to admonish you because sometimes we do all this stuff, but we never have the people come back and let us know that it mattered. And I want you to know that what you have done, what you continue to do matters. And that's why we need people like you in this industry to help give that guidance so these people stop getting ripped off and they don't
Oh
get.
my gosh, I feel so sorry. Some of them have spent so much money and it was so unnecessary,
Yep, very
but
much
they
so.
didn't know where else to go. So I mean, you know, you
They
can't fault somebody for trying.
they thought
But
they were doing the right thing.
right, right,
So
right.
Linda,
And you know, we lost a very good colleague in July.
yeah.
I don't know if you knew Joe Pulai or not.
Mhm.
Good friend and colleague of mine. He encouraged me so much when I was going through cancer, so I obviously did the same for him. And uh, I was at his funeral in Birmingham in July, and it was just a very sad, sad loss, not only as a friend, but a colleague and an industry person who also was very passionate about this industry and what he did.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that he's gone, but he's looking down on us and he's going, dang, would you just quit talking about me, Linda?
Well, Linda, there's one question I like to end our podcast with, and I know that leaders like yourself and others, we all have made the habit of reading to be our mainstay, to be able to read, to learn, and to continue to grow. So, if you and I were at lunch and we were catching up, what is the one book or the one article that you would tell me, Chuck, you have got to read this? It's going to change.
Read Herb Kelleher's book, Nuts.
Really?
Yeah, do you know who Herb Kelleher is?
I don't
Was?
know.
He was the person who started Southwest Airlines.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What
Read
is
his
it
book. It's
about that
called
book
Nuts.
that what is it about that book that would have you want me to read it?
It was inspirational. You got to have inspiration to keep going.
Hmm.
People find inspiration from all kinds of different places. The other thing I would tell you, not to sound too corny, but read the Bible.
Yeah,
All the principles are in there, every one of them.
you're exactly right. You're
So
exactly right. Well, Linda, I want to thank you again for being on Clearing the Haze and being able to discuss this with me. I think it's going to be eye-opening for a lot of people, and I think there's some insights that you shared with us in this episode that people are going to be able to take to heart, and it may help somebody get back on the right track to be able to make an impact in this industry. And as far as we know, they could be the next industry leader
you just
because of
know, do
this.
you?
You just
You
never know.
never know. And you could say, I knew you win.
Exactly. So I will have all the information you need to be able to reach out to Linda. I would highly encourage you, if you are in this industry, to look her up and to have that conversation with her. She's not hard to find at the conferences either. She'll take time to talk to you, and she'll help keep you on the straight and narrow. I've really enjoyed Linda, and I know that she's that one person that if I do have a question, and sometimes I occasionally do, that I can call her, and if I am on the wrong track, she's going to tell me that I'm on the wrong track. She's going to be telling me the truth, and it's not because she's upset with me, but because she cares and she wants me to be successful too. So that's what we want for all of you. So make sure you check out the show notes to be able to get a hold of Linda. Linda, is there any closing remarks, anything else you want to leave us with?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for thinking of me to do this, and thank you for all the kind words you said about me. I'm not sure that, when I hear somebody call me an expert, it kind of scares me a little bit because it's like, oh my God, I can't be wrong.
Well, and
And we all make mistakes,
there
so
you
we're human.
go. There you go.
But I appreciate you and Stacy, and Stacy is such a sweetheart.
Yep.
Make sure you give her my regards. Will she be at SAPA too?
I'm hoping we'll see.
Okay. Well, I hope she's there so I can give her a big hug.
She'll be listening, so she just heard you.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I will see.
So
I will see her hopefully there, and I'll definitely see you there.
awesome. Well, thanks again for tuning in to this episode of Clearing the Haze. And we look forward to being with you guys next week with another topic and another guest to be able to talk about the things that matter in our industry and how we can better each other. So until then, take care.